a lot of the times when I got mad, people thought I just enjoyed being mad. I hated being mad. I don't like being mad. I'm like you. You and I are two peas in a pod. We love having fun. We love laughing, love being around people. I hate getting mad, and I hate getting mad at other competitors. But when I get mad at them, it's always about etiquette. It's about the stuff that Dale Sr. and Rusty Wallace and Dale Jarrett and Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte, all these greats that I raced with, they taught us, and they taught you too when you came up. They taught us the etiquette of how to do it the right way. And if you didn't do it the right way, there was an easy fix for those
They were
guys.
going to bust your ass.
Yeah, they turned you around, backed you in the fence, and when you were sitting there sliding down the racetrack or stopped or trying to get it fired up to drive it to the pits, you had that time to go, I think I made a mistake, and you had to figure it out. But that's how you learned. And they really don't. It's sad in our sport now how vanilla and wimpy all these drivers are. They literally won't confront each other at the track. They'll just sit there and wait till they get home and beat on each other on Twitter where nobody has to face anybody. So we grew up in a different era and a different age. I don't know how I got off on this tangent.
No, it's a good subject. Don't worry about it. I do it all the time. But let me say this. When we had a gentleman's agreement in the NASCAR Cup Series that when there was a big wreck, we all slowed down, because at the time we didn't have the lines underneath the asphalt to freeze the field. So we froze the field ourselves. Well, early in my career, I raced Terry Labonte. I passed him and I thought, oh, I'm getting him. Terry Labonte took me between the trailers. And to me, that's what you did, Rusty did. They're like, hey, come here. And oh shit. And we went between the trailers, and it was that little private hallway. People like you or Dale Sr., we would address people. Those days are gone.
Yeah, you're right. It's I remember drivers coming up in the lounge, and it wasn't always bad. Sometimes they'd come in there and tell you when you did something good too, and that you did something right. They would come in and praise you for it. But if you did something wrong, exactly, there were meetings in between trailers. They would literally come in your trailer and talk to you in your own lounge. They'd talk in each other's motorhomes after practice was over or after the race was over. You handled it, and you did it eye to eye. You did it face to face. You did it as men. And exactly what you said. We didn't have timelines in the racetrack. When the caution came out, you literally were allowed to race to the start finish line, and you could pick up 10, 15, 20 spots if you wanted, if the caution came out in turns 1 and 2. But everybody, it was handled respectfully, and we did it because when cars wrecked, then we didn't have soft walls, we didn't have containment seats. The safety at that time was as good as it could be at that time, but it had a lot of room for improvement. But we all took care of each other, and there was a proper etiquette. And as time went on, and I tell people, I honestly say when we lost Dale Sr., that was the beginning of the end of the etiquette. There is no etiquette with these guys anymore. And that's okay. As long as we don't care, you and I don't care what the rules are. We just want it to be the same for everybody. And we want everybody to race the same.
You remember that verbiage, gentleman's agreement?
Yes. Yeah. And we all did great with it. And we had great races, great racing. Everybody respected each other. And sure, there's times that guys made mistakes or went over the line, and we all kept each other in check. But it's definitely a different day and age in NASCAR. And that's what I was, I guess, where I was going with that is that's what I'm trying to make sure I learn in the sport of NHRA is I want to be respectful coming in. It does not matter anything that I've done in my past before I got there. I'm a rookie just like everybody else, but I have the way I am as a person and the way as I am as a driver is I want to respect the sport. I want to respect the people in the sport, and I want to learn the etiquette, and I want to do it the right way. And Leah will tell you, I focus on making sure that I'm doing it the right way. I can do things, and then at the end of the day, we'll go to the hotel. I'm like, hey, I did this. Was this right? Was this the right way to do it or not? And literally some of the guys that I line up with for qualifying runs, you're not racing each other, but you're paired up against each other for qualifying. And, in our class, we have injected cars, and then we have some cars that have blowers on them. Mm-hmm. And the way they stage is different than what the alcohol cars that just are injected, how they stage and everything. So I would literally talk to every driver that I was going to and say, hey, help me understand how you need to stage so I don't mess you up, because I don't want to mess your run up. If I mess my run up, that's on me, but I don't want to mess your run up because I don't know what I'm doing. And I think those guys really respect the fact that I don't sit there and go, I don't care about any of these guys. All I care about is myself. I care about the guys I'm racing with. And because of that, I've built a good rapport in a short amount of time with the teams and the drivers that are in my class in the pit area.
Yeah, I want to compliment you. Then we're going to move on from drag racing. Number one, you're the ultimate racer. I'm saying that. The other thing that I know about you is that grown men in racing, they try to be tough guys, and they'll leap over things they should have focused on. But when I'm around you, one thing I've noticed about you is you take the most simplest thing and you're very serious about it. And I noticed that about you years ago. I'm like, Tony's focused in on what I thought was just the simplest thing. And I want to thank you, Tony, because you made me be more mature in that area. So like
Did you just say you're mature?
No, don't. I got everybody thinking I'm a nut right now.
You're gaining on it. Yeah, I'll give you credit. You're gaining on it, but I mean, shit, you got a long way to go, bud.
I want everybody to know that about you, that at the start of a manual of, instructions, whether it's life or racing, you're dead serious from the start about just the most simplest thing. So I just wanted to compliment you on that and tell you that you taught me that. You don't got to be a tough guy. Let's get this right. Let's start out right. And that's why when I saw you going to drag racing school, I thought that was so badass. You were learning from the very bottom.
And honestly, when I did that, I had no intention of racing. I literally went at the end of 2020 because, Lee and I met in March. And then toward the end of the season, I had built enough of a rapport with her team to where I was allowed and was asked to sit in the debriefs with the
learning the lingo
and I was sitting there, and I would sit with my shoulders like this, and I would try not to breathe too loud. And I got to listen to all the debrief, and I would listen to Leah talk about the run and what she had to do driving wise. Anybody that thinks a drag race, you just go straight, you end up you could go a straight line to get there, but none of those cars go exactly straight the entire time. So you have to drive. But I sat and listened to all those things, and I sat there and you and I've both done it. We've all, you and I visit different race tracks and watch different cars race. And when you hear people talk about it, you go, well, we think we understand and know what it would feel like to do that. But when she would talk about something, I'm like, well, in my head, I understand it, but I don't really know what that feels like.
And you wanted to feel it.
So I wanted to go to the drag racing school and just get a better perspective on it. Just so when I sat in those meetings, awesome, then I don't have to ask all those questions and at the end of the school, you feel about 1/10 of the things you need to learn, but it gives you a good base and understanding of how it all works. And, I started in a super comp car there at Holly's school, and halfway through the day, he had brought his alcohol car for me to drive as well. And that car is a 220-mile-an-hour car in a quarter mile. So,
my Lord,
get your undivided attention, not because of the speed, but because of the acceleration to get there. I mean, our cup cars cannot get to 200 mile an hour in a quarter mile. It just physically is impossible. So that's how it really started. But I didn't have any intentions at that time of doing anything more than just going to that school.